All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1111 class, I've been creating a series of video presentations, and the latest ones have been based off of the React Beginner's Handbook by Mr. Flavio Copes. All right, and we've been talking React. This is the third video, and we're talking now about using JX to compose your user interface. And I'd mentioned previously that one of the main benefits of JSX is to make it easier to build a user interface. All right. In a React component, you can import other components and you can embed them and display them. You've sort of seen this, but you're going to see it even more in just a couple minutes. A React component can be created in the same file of another component if you plan to use it in that component. There's no real hard and fast rules here. All right. But Copes mentions, and I've read this before too, that most people tend to separate files when the number of lines that are in there get to be too big. Now the problem is, what is that? What number is too big? And there is really no exact answer as far as when do you put stuff in one file as opposed to putting it in multiple files. All right. So the author says, let's create a component in our app.js file. So for now, at least, I'm going to remove this. All right, and this, and we'll leave that up. But I'm going to go back into our react.js file, which is right here. So as it says, we're going to come in here, and before this return statement, before this function app, all right, so we're going to add this, a very simple little thing in there that says that's going to be a welcome message. All right, so function welcome message, and we're going to put in there return, and let's put in a paragraph. I'm basing it off of what Copes has in his, but we're going to say welcome to the world of React. Okay, and that's it. That's the whole thing right there. Okay, now with that said, let's go in, and now that we've got this thing called welcome message, all right, after we put this edit, this paragraph that's in here right before the hyperlink, let's add that. So welcome message, I gotta spell it right. No parens, no anything, just welcome message like that and an ending tag. Okay, if this works the way I think it will, now we will have added right after edit, this to reload, we'll have welcome to the world of React. So let's see if indeed that's in there. There's our welcome to the world of React. All right. Now, what this means is, well, first of all, notice we didn't even have to do a reload. It just, boom, immediately picked it up, which is kind of neat. All right. Now, this thing that we just added here, this is known as a component. All right. Let's add another one. This is not in Copes's, but we'll put in here, we'll call it welcome message. How about just welcome message 2? Kind of a dumb name, but you get the idea. And I'm going to put in here return. We'll put in another paragraph. All right. This is for the Rankin Technical College AWD 1111 class, comma, Jeff Scott instructor. All right. And we'll end the paragraph. And this is called welcome message 2. So I'm going to add that right below the welcome message. Save, and let's see if we've got that in there now. And it's telling me import and export may appear at only one level. All right, well, let's look. I wonder what I put in here. Oh, I didn't put in my ending curly brace. That would do it. So this is for Rankin Technical College, etc. Okay, now that's enough. I mean, you see that. Okay, so we've added both the welcome message and the welcome message to components like they were part of the HTML language. So we can compose an application interface and use it like we're working with regular HTML. But there are some differences. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the differences between JSX and HTML. All right. Well, one thing is pretty obvious. We've already talked a little bit about it, and that is when we're working in here, you can't say div class equals. You've got to say class name. In HTML, we use the class attribute. All right. And that allows us to style HTML elements easily. And a lot of frameworks like Bootstrap, Tailwind, etc. use that. But there's a problem with this. Because again, the word class, not class name, but the word class is a reserved word in JavaScript. And it basically, it sends a signal that you're working and you're going to be creating an object-oriented class. It's not what we're doing here. All right, so the people who created React had to choose a different name and they ended up using class name. So the reason I'm telling you that is you're going to have to remember that and use that as you're working on this stuff, because if you use the word class, it won't work. All right. Now you already saw this. It says React will do its best to make sure things don't break, but it'll raise a lot of different things. So let's change this. Let's just grab this one right here. Let's change it to class. So I changed it from class name to class. And notice when I do, well, that was interesting because it did not give it an error, which I thought it would have. So let's see. And it's not giving me errors. And it is still, that's actually where it should be going. So that's interesting. What you're going to find, though, maybe not right there, but what you will find is as we're going and we're working with this stuff, if you do something incorrectly, a message will be flagged immediately and the program will basically almost right away stop. All right. So another big difference is just what I mentioned. HTML has kind of got a relaxed kind of syntax. Now, I'm not talking about when you take an HTML file and you validate it, but if you forget to end a tag, etc., typically it'll work out okay. Not always, but typically it'll still work okay in HTML. It will not when you're working here. All right. So JSX is not forgiving. If you forget to close a tag, you're going to get a clear error message. Well, let's see if that's true. So let's remove this A tag here. All right, and what do we get? There you go. Expected corresponding JSX closing tag for A. So it's even letting us know where the problem is. All right. But the error itself it's a pretty good error in that it pretty much tells you where it is and what it is. So React usually gives good, informative error messages that point you in the right direction. All right, another difference between JSX and HTML is in JSX you can embed JavaScript. We've already started to talk about this. And believe it or not, you've already seen it. Right there. React lets us use JavaScript in our JSX by using curly braces. All right. So that with that example, we imported the logo up here. All right. And then in JSX, we assigned it right here to that image right there, to that attribute. All right. So it says in here, suppose we had another thing in here. This, again, I'm using the example that they have. So he comes in here and he says const message equal hello. Remember, in here, we can use either double quotes or single quotes. Either one of them should work sufficiently. We can print this value in our JSX by adding that message anywhere. What does that mean? Well, we've got our welcome message, right? So what if we give our welcome message, and our welcome message said, welcome to the world of React, right? You saw that. And what if afterwards we put in here in curly braces, message? Are we going to get the word hello afterwards? Or are we going to get an error? It says that we're getting an error. All right. And it says unexpected token, expected ... Inside of the curly brackets, we can add any JavaScript statement, but just one statement for every curly bracket block. And the statement must return something. Well, ours wasn't. For example, they show a common statement on the bottom of page 24. It says we have a ternary operator. Remember, that's our question mark colon operator, where we define a condition, message equal hello, and we print one value if it's true, and we print another value if it's false. All right, so I'm just going to jump back there because I want to use their code. So I'm jumping all the way up here to page 24. You haven't missed anything, okay? All right. So we came in here, we put in that, and it says we can print this anywhere by adding it anywhere in the JSX. Okay, well, I tried that and it didn't work, but it must return something. So now, one thing I was always told, at least when you work with this, is that when you're working with the ternary operator, okay, now this says hello, okay, and says the message was hello. All right, so that's what happens if indeed message is equal to hello. But I was always taught that you should put a colon in there even with nothing. So I wouldn't have written it the way that they're showing it here, which does appear to work. All right. So in other words, I believe at least I can come in here and do this. All right. And here it says, if the message is hello, all right, then we want to set it equal to hello, the message was hello. All right. Now that's the question mark, so that's the true action. I was always told you should put in here a colon, even if it's something like that, if it's false. Now what I want to see is if I put that in, if that's going to give me an error. And I can tell it is. Expected an assignment or a function call, instead saw an expression. No one used expressions. All right, and it just has to do with the fact I'm not really using this in here. I'm not printing it or doing anything else. All right. Okay, let's just stop it right here and we'll pick it up on managing state in React. And then we'll get into props. All right, in just a couple minutes.